Hey everybody, welcome back to another Stone-Based Reactions. I'm Theta, and we're here back with another, sorry about episode of Crest of the Stars. First things up, I have some comments to go over, or rather not comments, Discord conversations. I believe last episode I had mentioned that there was a couple of pages posted by Rogue Knight about this Fagnaf. Sorry, I'm never going to be able to pronounce this planet or this port's name right. About the terraforming description of Svagnov that Rogue Knight passed along that I said I was going to read but hadn't by last episode. Well, I've read it, and I have to say, it really felt like a truncated version of the Mars trilogy by Kim Stanley Robinson, which itself features a number of political and economic motivators amongst a number of rebellions against a distant authority, in this case, obviously Earth, versus Svagnov's. Well, I wouldn't say it's even rebellion against authority. It seems to indicate that the second Baron of the territory may have been mad, or at the very least going against OB conventions. So, one of these two things. And all during the different eras of the terraforming of Mars. See, I call it. It's obvious. I don't say. I just call it trilogy. Although it's not a trilogy anymore. There's a couple of extra books. The main emphasis of the story is Red Mars, Blue Mars, Green Mars, in that it takes place during the different terraforming eras of the planet as represented by the names of the books. So it's the original astronauts that get sent there to terraform it in Red Mars. Blue Mars is the terraforming efforts getting underway, but also the uprising of its inhabitants versus the authoritarian nature of the corporate system of Earth trying to push its weight down amongst the planet. And then Green Mars, the end, where the planet has been fully terraformed and we have gained, well, I guess that's the story takes most of its main characters from the Martian side. It is technically we, as the reader, uh, gaining their freedom from the Earth centric corporation governments and then spreading out across not only the solar system, but I guess the galaxy at large by the very end. But yeah, reading just a couple pages of the chapter featuring Svagnov really implied so much that I pulled from the other fiction, as I just said. Not only that, Rogue Knight also shared the text of the Ops history to give comparison to what was being said last episode, and I'll admit that I was thrown for a bit as to what volcanic arc-shaped archipelago might have been referenced to do, but after a quick search I felt rather dumb for not realizing that that also perfectly described Japan itself. Given the origin of the media, that would have made a certain degree of sense. So the implication then being that the people who had created the Ob were themselves descendants of Japanese people who then based their society on the ancient traditions of their people and then abstracted them further where the need then arose. Some of the more interesting points of note from this section of the history, to me anyways, were that it was also interesting to note that sorry, I almost said geriatric, genetic modification to create a superspecies was considered illegal at the time it was done. Also, that their blue hair is a mark of their slavery, as it was imprinted upon them to make them distinct from normal humans. Kind of like, I think it's also a Japanese tradition, in the past anyway, to tattoo people who had committed crimes. So it kind of falls into the same territory. I mean, if you know better, right, you let me know. I get the concept of peace of mind as a factor in the destruction of their birth city, or fortress, as it was called in the anime. Fear is a terribly motivating factor. I think the thing that muddles it slightly is the fact that the novel implicitly declares that their creators attempted to play political games with them before attempting to assert control over the original ob. That implies communication, which then implies that there may have been other means. Like if we're talking, then you don't have to outright attack. But then again, as I said, I understand the peace of mind angle as well. Another thing to read into is the fact that the birth city regarded war as a thing of the past. Given 2 episodes ago, we saw the diplomats of the human kingdoms approaching the Empress, and then having the conversation about this being the final war. That therein lies the possibility that mankind had actually moved past war, and it was the Ob, in their fear, that brought war back. I think I better understand the love statement before, now being able to follow the trail from the creators of the Ob to the Ob themselves destroying their creators. Without the fear that drove them before, I think it would be easy to say that they simply took upon themselves the mission of their creators that first formed the birth city, if not the ones of the generation that created them to be sent out amongst the stars ahead of them. That is, those were all my thoughts when I was reading the novel bits that were sent to me. I think it does lend a certain amount of, I don't know, headway, if not understanding, to what the anime is proposing. Although, as I've said before, the anime does itself also seem to just like hand wave over large sections of stuff. I know I didn't write it down here, but I do believe it was Alro Savant. I'm apologizing now. I don't have it immediately in front of me, but I do remember reading it when I was in the Discord. One of you pointed out the fact that it's not that they're just watching one propaganda channel constantly over and over again. It's that the United Mankind, when they took over the planet, just have kept repeating this thing over all channels. They've got, I believe it said in the note there that they either have to talk to each other or watch the propaganda channel, which is all channels. So the situation that Lafiel and Jinto are in their room is the same situation every inhabitant of the planet's over. So there is also that. Beyond that, though, I do have one other thing to go over. And unfortunately, I thought I had it open already, so bear with me for just one moment while I. There we go. Bring it up. Sorry, I know I was pausing there for a moment for effect. And there we go. I have, of course, updated the board with all of our. It's funny that they did say, well, we do look like police, don't we? And then, they turn out to not be police. So I guess that was the inciting hilarity of that situation. Because, you look at this guy and, you think he doesn't look like a cop. And he says, well, we don't look like cops. And you think he's just being insecure in his own self. And it turns out, no, that's not the thing. The thing is that they're not cops. Also, he's Undertaker, just like a character from '86, which I can't help but keep bringing up. Not only because obviously one of you is a super fan of '86, which is I am now as myself, but, it's a connection between the two shows. One we just finished and this one, which we're, what, three-fourths, two-thirds through. And of course, we also have the commanders of the, well, we have the commander of the new fleet and his support crew on the ship. I did not see if they named Lady of Chaos, which I believe the episode we're going into is named after, on her new patrol ship. I didn't see if they named her or not, which is obviously why she's not on here. Otherwise, someone has been pointing out to me that I keep saying Jinto's sister is Rina. Someone very clearly pointed out to me, and I haven't changed it on here because I don't believe it to be true. only in so much as I did not hear it or see it anywhere, that Rina is not Jinto's sister. They claim Rina is Teal's wife, so that this should be a blue line and this should be a green line. That Rina and Jinto are not related because they're like in-laws or something. Well, see, I don't even know. See, I don't even know what their implication is. Is there implication that Rina was Jinto's sister, but then married Teal, and then... Because then they'd still be related. Or is the implication that Teal married Rina, and Teal is like raised Jinto, and he's like an adoptive parent, even though Rock is still around for some reason? And that Rina is just like a mother-in-law? I mean, it would serve why she seems so much older, but at the same time, pretty sure it was implied she was a sister, like an older sister. I don't know. I'm just pointing that out because it was said to me by at least two people, and I don't know. I swear to God, I believe in the first episode they said sister, but anyone who's watched this channel for any amount of time would know I am quick to get things wrong. So, that said, that's all I've got for the board. I believe I've covered everything in the episode, not the episode, everything that's been said to me in Discord over the last day or so. So, that said, I say we go ahead and move on into the episode and see what we learned new today. I expect a certain amount of craziness from a new character who's in charge of a new patrol ship. So, let's go ahead, get on into it. Oh, there we go. Now we got a name. I'm gonna have to go back and remember if the Spore family is one of the 8 royal families. See, the fact they keep bringing up the Abriels like they're close to them. Royal heir, they have to be a royal family then. Seems like the beams off the Gosroth, and then they pass by just melt. I believe those are exactly the scenes that we saw in the... Sorry, just also realizing that I had this turned up a little louder than normal. I believe those are exactly the scenes that we saw in the next time on. But you know, while we're going here in the opening, I can just scroll up on my notes here and see. You know, they said Spool family, and Spool is not one of the royal heirs. Or it's not one of the 8 royal families. Not unless they've done a thing where they've changed the text again. Kind of like with Desanyo, where Desanyo was like in line to be a king. And he's supposed to be one of the royal family. But his name does not contain any of the royal family names. Unless, again, it forgot a letter, and his Balk is actually a Balkeel. In which case, I guess the closest I could think of Spool would be Skeel. Where they replaced the P with a K and an E's with an O. But then that's just bad internal consistency in their own show. Like I said, this is stuff I'll be able to figure out better during the note-taking portion. But since we're here in the opening, I figured I just had a chance to scroll up and see for myself. Otherwise, let's get back into it now that the opening is over.
敵時空砲方位丸10距離30我が進路と交差しますその数約300敵主力と思われます彼らは我々に予備戦力を投入してきました直ちに回避行動を
お願い私の環境で騒がないでちょうだい計算して間に合うかしら
はい
Her hair very much reminds me of that one mercenary lady from Jujutsu Kaisen. Just that it doesn't come directly down over her face. That one ship destroyed so many more mines than the other fleet did.
敵戦列艦隊は不通ネの阻止に全力を挙げています。本体への脅威はほとんどありません。
よし、全艦突撃準備だ。ロケールは右の敵戦闘集団を撃滅せよ。ワガペールは左を殲滅。ビュルデフとキティールは俺についてこい。
Which is what she said they would do.
美味しいとこをみんな不通ネに持っていかれるぞ。
They've also indicated that their goal is to take back the port, not to win the fight here.
千人参謀
はい
私細かいお仕事は嫌いなの各戦隊に目標を指示してちょうだい
はい
そうそう私たちの分はいらないわよ
我々は予備兵力になるんですか
違うわ私はあれをいただく
これは
Similar to the other command ships.
何かだと思われます無視してよろしいのでは
そう見せかけた予備兵力かもしれないわ無害を装って最後に私たちを叩くつもりなのかもそれは尺だから先手を打っておきたいの
We do know that they seem to have hidden their forces the first time when the Gusroth was here.
全艦3回炎の国はこれからの本妻よ私たちは舞踏の女神フトゥーネいかにうまく踊れるか見せてあげなさい
She's just fun. I like her.
不審者を2人発見しました
どこだ
リムゼール邸ですがすでに立ち去った後でして
逃げられたの
But I'm just thinking back when the Gusroth was attacked.
どうして不審者
You remember how like one time space bubble became 10, that sort of thing.
女の方は目と髪は黒肌は小麦色すんごい美少女だったそうです
すんごいね
あなた私たちのこと無双家だと思ってるでしょこのお嬢さんを
It's funny that in a situation like the Ob, that being too beautiful to be a crime.
なんだ分かってたのか私たちはね宇宙船が欲しいの
独立じゃなくて
独立のためにだ
ミンは一気に独立を手にしようとしているんだけど私は段階を踏むべきだと考えているの宇宙船に乗りたいなら国民になればいいであろう
俺たちは宇宙船に乗りたいんじゃない欲しいんだ俺たちの自由になる宇宙船を
そりゃ不可能だよ
帝国の青函船は全て皇帝陛下のもの
Everything that I thought would make these guys useful,
だって宇宙港にはいろんな会社や諸港の船が
they've gotten rid of completely.
あれは貸し出しているんだ帝国商船団が乗員ごと船の大きさや期限はもちろん借り手の自由だけど乗員の人事権は商船団にある
じゃあ俺たちの夢はどうなるんだ
どうするのかな
So that guy on the edge looked like he was getting car sick in the same way
目
people
的
get
地だった
seasick.
かなあれは私の別荘だ君たちを監禁するつもりだったが果たしてその価値があるのかどうか
慎重に考えるがよい
なんでこんなにアブってやつは傲慢なんだ
気にしない方がいいよ気にしてたら身が持たない
私は親切で言ってるんだぞ
あれを見てミンあなたあんなの買ったの
いや
人類統合体。
Just a fact of consideration, you're outside of the scene. Why did they make interstellar colonists the Ob? Beautiful for no reason.
市民。
あんたたちこそ誰だ？
人類統合体平和維持軍スファグノーフ派遣地上軍団 RC 管区憲兵隊のアランガ憲兵少佐です。
私はあれの持ち主だ。これから友人たちと楽しい宴を開こうと思っている。
では君は独立党員の市民ミンクルサップですね。
元党員だ。3年前に離党した。
でも市民ミンですね。
そうだ。
君を逮捕します。
なんだ？
I thought Min wasn't his real name. That Min was just the name he chose to go by.
君たち独立党は帝国のために反動的抵抗運動をする隠蔽組織なのだという極めて合理的な疑いがあります。ご覧の通り抵抗は無益です。
なんて勘違いだ。
ダメだ。
You know she'd fight even if it was a 10% chance of victory.
走れ。
くそ。
あちら。
I mean, I'm assuming that she threw their energy reloads, right?
たまるがよい。文句は後で聞く。
こっちに来い。
Getting punched by a look.
来やがったら死に損ない。
こっちだ。
I don't want to be that guy. But this way sounded a lot like Godzilla.
早く。
But that's way up there. You don't want to be. Yeah, see?
全員いるか。
そのようね。
じゃあこっちだ。
See, you hear it?
その前に
Can't help but hear it. Also, you might be like killing indirectly the next person who falls down there by doing that.
けどさっき僕らが落ちた穴は
あれは私が万一のために作った脱出路だ。そんなことより大変なことをしてくれたな。これで私の名が彼らに知られてしまった。よりによって
They knew your
協
name,
力者としてだぞ。
謝
and
罪
they
を。
accused you of that.
そなたたちを巻き込んだことは申し訳なく思う。けれど我らもたやすく捕まるわけにはいかない。
昔な、2階から茨の茂みに飛び込んだやつがいたんだ。
何の話よ。聞こえる？
I haven't seen that move since Macross Zero.
来た。ジント君、明かりを。
そいつは無論傷だらけだ。
誰がよ。
茨に飛び込んだ男さ。俺は見舞いに行った時に一体どうしてそんなことをしたんだって聞いた。そしたらそいつはその時はいい考えだと思ったって言いやがったのさ。
こっちが本流だ。本流に出れば地上へ出る穴がいくつかある。
そなたたち先に行くがよい。
なんだと？
これ以上そなたたちに迷惑をかけるわけにはいかない。奴らは私が食い止める。行くが
Oh,
よい。
Shinto ain't gonna fucking allow that.
どこの世界に人質に助けられる誘拐犯がいるんだ。
行きましょう。どうせこのお嬢さんは
Well, I
動
guess
かない。
Stockholm Syndrome doesn't exist in the future.
敵は近い。
わかった。
生きていたらまた会いましょう。
よしやれ。
まさか僕まで追い払わないだろ
もちろんそなたの射撃はひどいものであるけど ないよりはマシであろ。
Okay, guess I just had a lot of
重火器
reloads.
を使われたら厄介だな。生き埋めにされてしまう。
安心するがよい。星たちの眷属が土の中などで死ぬものか。
先を越されたか。
どうします？我々も地下に入りますか？
穴の中の追いかけっこは軍隊の連中に任せとけ。
しかし彼らは。
俺たちは愚造入死刑の連中を穴潜りって呼んでるぐらいさ。この洞窟のことならかなり精緻な情報が利用できる。
では、
先回りできるかもしれん。
Yeah. He's the smarter guy of the two, I guess. Also feels like Rambo First Blood in that kind of way.
そなた、片膝をついて銃を構えるがよい。
あ
あ。合図したら上下に振って撃ちまくるがよい。
でも見えない敵を撃つのは不安だな。
見えたところで同じであろう。
正しい評価ありがとう。
今だ。ジント。奥。
I guess that was the gun kata of fighting in a cave.
661時空砲時空分離。
ほら来た。
突撃艦級単艦時空砲6個です。
Oh, we're doing all fights at once.
距離16。
なんですって？嫌いじゃないの？
はい。
砲術参謀、嫌いの残数を数えてちょうだい。
本艦が4機、防具ビルシが同じく4機、ハスンビルシが5機、合計13機です。
そのぐらい私にも計算できるわ。前方機雷戦を始めて全弾発射。
Ain't no winning with this lady.
千人参謀、
何でしょう。
将士にとって一番の罪って何だと思い？
上官に反抗的なことでしょうか。
違うわ、バカであることよ。巡察艦3隻にたった6隻の突撃艦を差し向けるようなバカじゃね。
なるほど。
私は不真面目かもしれないけどバカじゃないわ。部下を無駄に死なせるようなことはしない。
I guess it also gives context to the whole fool conversation from last
この
time.
レトパーニュ大公はね、遊び仲間は選ぶの。遊び相手は選べないけど。
有能な遊び仲間になるよう努めます。
見込みはあるわね。
時空融合1分前。
661投降信号未だありません。
I still like her. This is a very weird relationship that they have.
了解。
全艦に伝達。時空融合次第電磁投射砲を静射してちょうだい。さて、あの中には何が入ってるのかしら。ワクワクしちゃう。
時空融合10秒前。
さあ行くわよ。
5、4、3、2、1。時空融合。
投降信号です。電波通信で投降信号。
攻撃中止。全艦に伝達。攻撃中止よ。降伏したものを撃ったとあってはスポールの直れ。
ハスンビルシュ間に合いません。電磁投射砲を。
自爆を。まったく、なんで砲艦通信で出さないのよ。逃げ切れるとでも思ったのかし
Do
ら。
you think it's a trick?
やはり輸送艦でした。
私の勘だってたまには外れるわよ。
Look at her
連
face.
絡艇が来ました。
で何だと。
敵の官僚団を捕虜にしたそうです。
なぜ戦場に役人などいたんだ。
人類統合体には官僚を戦場に伴う風習があるようです。
奴らのやり方は全く不可解だ。まあそれはそれとして我々は勝ったな。
はい、当然の帰結です。
当然すぎてつまらんが、と
You
もか
think
く
it's like
めでた
a
い。
political bureau?
全艦に集結命令を出せ。
了解しました。
Says the one guy seems to have been representing
もう
Russia.
一働きしてもらうぞ。
There's like the Soviet political bureau thing among military ships.
距離 0.12 光秒。相対速度毎秒 217.5S ダッシュ。関数約20。敵艦 関係照合完了。大型輸送艦12隻、巡察艦1隻、突撃艦6隻と思われます。我が方の勝利確率 0.987 と判定。降伏勧告を出しますか？
いらない。したければするでしょう。
敵艦より入電。当方にはスパグノーフ公爵以下21名の捕虜あり、攻撃を控え通
Okay,
過させ
good. They didn't just kill them or anything.
通信参謀。
はい。
敵艦へ変電。
了解。本文どうぞ。
私は偵察分艦隊フトゥーネ司令官スポール準提督。我が政界軍の寛容なることを知るがよい。御ミラに降伏の機会を与えよう。お互いの距離が 0.08 光秒に縮まるまで待つ。もし御ミラが降伏の機会を逃しても、我らはさらに甘美な運命を用意している。すなわちアーブ貴族とシネル栄養、噛み締めつつ素粒子まで分解するがよい。全艦へ通信。
了解。
距離 0.08 光秒で攻撃を開始
Just
する。
like the conversation that they had before they crash landed on the planet.
一切受け付けなくてよろしい。徹底的に打ち砕きなさい。
待ってください。
なあに千人参謀。
投降した敵を撃つのは帝国と政界軍の名誉に傷をつけます。
そうね。投降した敵を撃つのは美しくないわ。やめましょう。
は、進言を受けていただきありがとうございます。
ところで捕虜の移送方法は私の好きにしていいのね。
はい。閣下が最上級指揮官ですから。
結構。敵の人数はどのぐらいだと見積もる？
大型輸送艦が12隻ですから25,000人程度でしょうか。
そう。タルス級輸送艦1隻に乗れるわね。
1隻？乗れないことはないですが。
じゃあ計算して。タルス級輸送艦に24,000人を乗せ、通常空間を通って帝都まで移送したとしたら、船内時間ってどのくらい？
通常空間のみですか？
そうよ。
約58,300
I was hoping it was like
そんなにかかったのでは捕虜の人たちも嬉しく
normal space would be normal
じゃあ時間を
relativistic travel, so I figured that's what they were talking about.
時空砲発生期間はいらないわ。姿勢制御期間も不要、乗員も乗らない。重力制御期間も下ろしましょう。まだ重そうね。食料と水のことは計算に入れてる
？1年分を積載し、その後のために最小限の水耕農業施設を入れ。
農業施設なんていらない。それも削除してちょうだい。
いっそ当座の食料飲料水、それから空気浄化設備も省きますか？
バカね。そんなことしたら捕虜が死んでしまうじゃない。そんな残酷なことできないわ。だいぶ軽くなったんじゃない？計算してちょうだい。
大して変わらないと思いますが、約49,100年です。
ほらごらんなさい。1万年近くも節約できたじゃない。
ですがしかし。
通信参謀、全艦に通達。いついかなる時でも投降の意思を尊重しなさい。ただし戦闘開始後に投降した者については通常空間のみを経由して帝都へ移送するものとする。輸送艦は時間短縮に
good on them.
時空砲発生期間、重力制御期
They've
間、
really got to get
姿勢制御
the
期間
reason
など
to
を省き
surrender
乗員も
now.
登場しない。移送にあたり捕虜には1年分の水と食料が供与される。到着時間は約49,000年後の予定。以上よ。
お待ちください、閣下。
おだまり千人参謀。これ以上の進言
I mean, I'm still about not showing them mercy for what they did to Lexu and the Gasroth.
枕の淑女。
気に入ったわ、その称号。
God, she's got some red eyes.
帰り道ができて良いじゃないか。
君と一緒にいると心配事がなくていいや。宇宙は希望に満ちてるよな。まずいな。
どうした？近づいたな。
行き止まり。
ジンと伏せろ。
That is an old-fashioned explosive. Sorry, I see the design of that one. Uh, the grenade, the thrown grenade, because it reminds me of a World War II. Or is that a World War One? The German grenade with the explosive end, and you hold it like by on a stick, and then you throw it. I don't know. I see it more often in movies of the era, but I guess it's also popularized in like Call of Duty or I was about to say Modern Warfare. Obviously not Modern Warfare. That would be modern. I do like the back-to-back combat segments, keeping all the action all together instead of say doing the space combat in one episode and then doing the ground combat in another episode. Sorry, I was just thinking about calling it uh, a retreat combat. I don't know. It's not technically so much combat. They're doing a protracted like chase. So we're doing a chase scene and a space combat at the same time. Still, it's very fun, and I like the Lady of Chaos. Her teasing nature really plays into get them to do what I want.
生きながら死体の気持ちを味わえるとはね。
まだ痛むのか。
かすり傷さ。
屈辱だ。灌漑空士企画もない。偶兵区もない船に乗らないといけないなんて。
これは船じゃないよ。棺桶なんだ。棺桶。
狭いな。急にそなたがいとわしくなってきた。あまり近づくな。
怪我人なんだよ。気をつけてよ。
かすり傷なんだろう。
I'm confused. I'm confused why they're saying coffin. Because it does look like they just got crushed underground, right? But to assume that they got not obviously not rescued if they're assumed to be dead and they're in a coffin. And they're clearly not still underground. So I don't know what to think then. Tangential thought. Maybe I'm right about what's it? I want to call him Crichton, but that is the robot from Red Dwarf. What is this guy's name? Going up over my list here. Krite. Kyrite? Kyrite. Anyway, the lieutenant. The lieutenant who's with the inspector. Maybe I'm right about him. Maybe he's actually an undercover agent, maybe? I don't know. Just the whole how old do you think I am thing. It's either that or it's the inspector. That possibly they found them in the rubble. Or maybe they blew open the dead end, because he said he was going there, right? Maybe they blew open the dead end and they're just faking that they're dead, and they're sending them off in a coffin for their safety. That, or the independence group survived, found them, and is trying to transport them in a coffin. I don't think so there. Because if that was true, how would they move safely now that all of their names have been like dragged through the mud? Like specifically, they called out Min and his suspected that his independence movement might actually be supporting the Empire. So I don't think they can move safely either. So the only people I can think could set them up would be either remnant Ob forces, which I think maybe the lieutenant might be, spy, infiltrator, whatever. Maybe the information thing. That's why the captain's so upset that this is just some sort of weird foreshadowing. Or, I don't know, somehow they think that they are dead. Like there's some sort of ob trick for playing dead. And that this is some. See, she's also acting like they're in space, and I don't know why they would do that unless they shoot their dead into space. Like maybe the monuments or cannons to fire the dead into the air. But that is insanity of the highest level, so I do not think that's it. Otherwise, I think I'm just gonna go into the note-taking section. There's a lot that happened here, but most of it was just like of the moment stuff. Like the whole how long would it take to get to the capital from here in real time? And all of that was just what can we threaten them with to make them want to surrender now or try to make them not considering surrender after the battle starts. That's all that was. We didn't get really much to deal with from the commander of the fleet side. His was more literally doing what she said that they would do. The back fleets will take care of the people that are going around us. We're gonna deal with the main things. And then she called out that the transports were actually probably more than transports. Everything else was pretty on the face of it, I think, that I don't think I have much thoughts here, but I might, of course, have more thoughts after the note taking section. So I know I've said it twice now, but let's go ahead and get into the note taking section. All right, we're back from note taking. Again, most of the times when I'm doing this, I just kind of go back over the same things that I said during the episode. But I guess the real benefit of note taking is that I tend to sometimes not remember what I said when I'm just reacting, right? And note taking gives me a second chance to go back, rethink everything, rewrite it down. So I guess that's the real goodness of doing this again. All right. If you take the description of the Spore family and the Duchess's clan and combine it with the allegory from the previous episode, then I think you'd get a very different mental image of who Spore Aaron Secpado Letopiano is when compared to the person we met in these last two episodes. She is quite clearly someone I would paint as a dilettante, a rich person with a specific area of interest which seems outside the description of her clan, unless the descriptions were meant to imply that she wants for nothing and has nothing but time to expend on doing whatever she wants, which I believe she's implied war and combat. I wonder if there is some visual representation going on with the fact that the commanders of ships wander around gesturing with blunted swords at commands they wish to give, while all the other members of the crew are restrained by the devices they wear on their heads and connect to the ship in order to be more connected with all the data and sensor input. Kind of like the episode 2, right? When Lafiel says that she can feel the ship, that she gets all the data. And I guess also to a lesser extent, the people who have to put their hands in the slots. And, they have basically only half motor control at that point and are locked into their seats. I mean, otherwise, maybe it's meant to represent kind of like a tank commander crew in like World War One, where the tank commander just has to walk through all the tanks he's commanding instead of like World War Two, where you've got sorry, I can't think of a movie example name, but you see those in the movies versus World War One, where you have the epitome of say like the British officer who has to stand there as bullet fires whizzing past and is giving like inspiration to the crew by his presence. I can't tell. This seems like there is some sort of metaphor going on, but I am too dumb to figure it out. Another interesting bit I found was that the Empress told the delegation from a few episodes back that the Empire had no gods, but Duchess Leto Panano directly references Fatun to be the goddess of dance. Now, it's entirely possible that she oversees planets of people who have gods, that she's referencing, say, some pagan mythology to herself, something she doesn't believe, possibly, but she seems to reference it so directly that I can't help but think it's something of her own. So if the Empire has no gods, then what is this? What's happening right now? So the Empress of the Ob essentially controls all of space. By virtue of that fact, she controls all the ships in the Empire. At least in theory, by name alone she does. Which then implies that all shipping, as covered by the first episode, has to be authorized by the OB, and even the most independent interpretation of this, going through merchant holdings, only gets to select the type of ship they want, but still have to submit to the will of whatever the OB decree as appropriate in space travel. I mean, we know from just about everything, basically, that all they care about is space. Right down to that description I was giving of Sufganov before, that the second Baron was willing just to not even have the planet be inhabited. Like, again, some people thought he was crazy, that he was trying to give hope that another form of life would sprout there, of intelligent life. But yeah, and the whole Lafiel's thing of Inab is not destined to die in soil. We know all they care about is space, and it seems very much that that's being set up in almost a imperial queen of England sort of that era of England. I mean, I don't know if Japan has a similar um, methodology to what we've already covered in the history of the Ob, the beginning of the episode today that we just went over. That the era of Japan being represented in their cultural spreading is that era of Japan, and if that era of Japan had a similar thing. I don't know, I feel it's like a bit of a ramble. I don't even know if I got that thought out correctly. I kind of like that the barrel of the Ob guns that Lex Shu gave Jinto so long ago act like flashlights. I suppose since they are energy weapons, there are a number of modes available for them to act in, because it does not seem like there's a flashlight on the gun. It seems like the barrel of the gun itself is acting like a flashlight, which is just a neat little built-in thing. And we've seen that there are a number of handheld weapons in the series, so not all of them have sort of that motif. Just as a note, these people barged into Jinto and Lafiel's hotel room in order to take them hostage. Lafiel kicked their asses, but still agreed to become a hostage for her own means. Then, this episode, Lafiel apologizes to them for getting them into the mess they're in. Makes no sense to me. This independence movement, beyond getting their hopes dashed on getting a spaceship of their own, has gotten everything they wanted to out of the scenario, right? If Lafiel hadn't kicked their asses and they did just take them hostage, they'd be exactly in the same place. Things blowing up in their faces is entirely their own fault. Lafiel's apology is meaningless. I appreciate that the Duchess thinks that believing their superior is a fool is the worst offense an officer can make, after having had her executive officer go through the back and forth of having him make his intention clear last episode. That he was, sorry, I guess she was testing to see if, saying it backwards again, he was testing to see if she was a fool, which, to be honest, seemed to me like she was leading him down a conversation path where he didn't want to seem like he had misjudged the conversation and was looking for an out. So she kind of forced him into saying that's what it was about for him, and I did not feel that for him. It at least doubles down on showing what kind of person she is, or at least what kind of relationship they have. I guess this is a question for you, the audience, because obviously I have nobody else to riff off of here. Do you think that the United Mankind fleet surrendered over radio at the last minute due to the technological difference between themselves and the Ob Empire? Or do you think that it was one last political play to force the Ob hand diplomatically, to surrender after it was too late to make it seem like the Ob had committed a war crime, and thus strengthen the resolve of anyone else wishing to rise up against the Ob by proving to everyone what the United Mankind claims them to be is the truth and reality of it? Kind of just like a smear campaign at the cost of lives. I don't know. We already covered before that the United Mankind leadership also sends people into very harsh situations with a series of orders, sometimes without the means to accomplish those orders or not enough resources to do so. So, feels like it to me. Not sure, and I know the people who are watching this know more than I do. I have to wonder if the civil servants referenced aboard the United Mankind ships were akin to political commissars as seen aboard Soviet ships during the Cold War. I believe their intended purpose was to reinforce the state beliefs of communism aboard ship, having the authority to arrest and or detain people for anti-communist activities. It just made me think that sort of thing due to the fact that the primary negotiator from the United Mankind last time was that Russian stand-in for Gorbachev. And my last thought here for today is an example of math, I guess. Just as a show of distance for the range that the Duchess gave for the other ships to surrender, 0.08 light seconds is a little less than 24,000 kilometers, or a little over half the circumference of the Earth. So essentially, from halfway across the Earth, she said, "That's as far as you got before you surrender, and I open fire on you, and I rain hell upon you." So, yeah, these have been my thoughts for today's episode. I once again thank you for joining me. This show has been increasingly more entertaining, and once again, it's all of you who are joining me on the ride that make it that much more entertaining. So, I thank you, and I will see you next time on the next episode of Stoneface Reactions. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?